North Korea kept tensions simmering around its borders, reportedly moving a medium-range missile to its east coast and continuing to put pressure on a joint industrial complex where hundreds of South Koreans work. The day before, the United States had announced that it was sending ballistic missile defenses to Guam, a Western Pacific territory that's home to U.S. naval and air bases, which North Korea has cited these bases among possible targets for missile attacks. Is the Korean Peninsula on the brink of war? News First takes a comprehensive look at the latest tensions on our special segment, Korea on the Edge.
North Korea ramped up its rhetoric yesterday, warning that it has authorized plans for nuclear strikes on targets in the United States. Now, the North Korean military said, and I quote, "Moments of explosion is approaching fast, and that war could break out today or tomorrow," unquote. North Korea barred entry to a joint industrial complex it shares with the South for a second day today. The Association of Companies Operating Factories at the Kaesong Industrial Zone said the North had told them to pull out by April 10th. Meanwhile, South Korean workers returned from the Kaesong Industrial Zone in the North as North suspends workers' entry into the areas. Issuing a statement yesterday, the North Korean People's Army stated that, quote, "We formally informed the White House and the Pentagon that the ever-escalating U.S. hostile policy towards the DPRK and its reckless nuclear threat will be smashed by the strong will of all the United Service personnel and people and cutting-edge, smaller, lighter and diversified nuclear strike means of the DPRK," unquote. The statement further read that war could break out in the peninsula as early as today or tomorrow. Meanwhile, Pyongyang says its military had been given the final approval to launch a nuclear strike. According to a report on South Korea's Yonhap news agency, North Korea has moved what appears to be a mid-range Musudan missile to its east coast. The missile has a range of around 3,000 kilometers, which puts all of South Korea within its range, and is also capable of targeting US military bases in Japan and Guam. Many analysts believe that North Korea does not possess technology to launch a nuclear attack on the US mainland. However, it does have plenty of conventional military firepower, including medium-range ballistic missiles. The Pentagon ordered an advanced missile defense system to the Western Pacific as the U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel declared North Korea poses a real and clear danger to South Korea, Japan, and America itself.
We take those threats seriously. We have to take those threats seriously. We have been trying to work with the North Koreans to persuade them it's not in their interest, in certainly the Korean Peninsula's interest, South Koreans. They have nuclear capacity now. They have missile delivery capacity now. So we will continue to take these threats seriously.
According to the Pentagon, the presence of the THAAD missile defense system is aimed at strengthening the regional defense posture against the North Korean regional ballistic missile threat. Earlier, the Pentagon announced that the USS John McCain and USS Decanter, destroyers capable of intercepting missiles, have been positioned off the Korean Peninsula.
So let me be perfectly clear here today. The United States will defend and protect ourselves and our treaty ally, the Republic of Korea. The Foreign Minister and I also think it's important to stay absolutely focused on our shared goal of a peaceful Korean Peninsula, free of nuclear weapons.
The US has flexed its military muscles in the region through Operation Foal Eagle, the joint military exercises with South Korea. The US used it as an opportunity to deploy B-52 bombers as well as B-2 stealth bombers and F-22 Raptor stealth fighters in the region. United Nations Chief Ban Ki-moon has said that he was deeply concerned by rising tensions on the North Korean peninsula after Pyongyang said it had approved plans for nuclear strikes on US targets. Speaking during a visit to Monaco, Ban Ki-moon also said that he hoped North Korea would as soon as possible lift restrictions on South Korean workers at the Kaesong complex, the last real surviving point of contact between the two countries. North Korea increased its anti-American rhetoric following a fresh round of UN sanctions that were imposed after nuclear tests in February. However, some analysts attribute this increase in rhetoric as a measure aimed at bolstering young leader Kim Jong-un's grip on power ahead of state celebrations to mark the birthday of Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea and Un's grandfather.
1953, the The conflict didn't end. The war didn't end. There was a kind of cessation of hostilities for the moment. And that is why, even today, the Korean War is still there. The two countries are at war. That is why the northern rhetoric is so powerful, so violent and volatile, because they can say that these terms because they are at war with South Korea. If there is any war, that's going to impact not just North Korea and South Korea, but China, Japan, even Russia, and Southeast Asian countries, and even Sri Lanka.
Now, a significant Sri Lankan population lives and works in South Korea. If war breaks out, does the Sri Lankan government have a plan to repatriate Sri Lankan migrant workers? Let's take a quick listen to what the subject minister, Tilan Pereira, has to say. There is a Sri Lankan population of around 25,000 in South Korea. We are aware and conscious that North Korea has declared a state of war. This could be a false threat. However, we are ready to ensure the safety of our people and repatriate them if necessary. We have taken steps in this regard, therefore there is no cause for fear. The destination of nearly 20% of exports from Sri Lanka is South Korea, and South Korean firms have already commenced investing in Sri Lanka. In 2004, Sri Lankan imports from South Korea amounted to $18.04 million. This value increased to $45.05 million by 2011. South Korea has also pledged to provide $200 million to Sri Lanka for development activities during the period between 2013 and 2015. The unease in the Korean Peninsula has existed ever since the United States decided to split the country along the 38th parallel following the end of the Second World War. The situation escalated into open warfare when North Korean troops invaded South Korea in 1950 and were subsequently pushed back by US and South Korean forces. However, the alleged development of nuclear weapons is what put a new twist on this tension. What were the turning points during the last 6 years? Let's take a brief look. On the 9th of October 2006, North Korea carried out its first ever nuclear weapons test. However, following 6-party talks and after receiving its first shipment of heavy fuel, North Korea announced that it had shut down its nuclear reactor in Yongbyon. After 6-party talks broke down, North Korea detonated an underground explosive device, its second nuclear test. On the 26th of March 2010, an alleged torpedo attack by North Korea sunk a South Korean warship, killing 46 sailors. Later that year, North Korea said it will cut all relations with the South and expel all South Korean workers from a jointly run factory north of the border. In November 2010, North Korea shelled the South Korean border island of Yongbyon, killing 4. In December 2011, North Korean leader Kim Jong-il died of a heart attack. His son, Kim Jong-un, was formally named the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces on the 31st of December 2011. In December 2012, North Korea successfully put a satellite into space. US and other countries condemned it as a banned test of long-range missile technology. In February 2013, North Korea successfully staged its third nuclear test. On the 7th of March this year, the UN approved fresh sanctions against Pyongyang. On the 30th of March, North Korea said it is entering a state of war with South Korea.